So let's begin. Hi and welcome everybody to our first international webinar about becoming climate positive according to the Clipop criteria. Clipop stands for Climate Positive Products, and this has developed as a best practice for companies that want to take action now. Today, we are 11 climate positive organizations within the Clipop network. And this afternoon, you will hear from some of our founders and some of our newest members who will be sharing their insights and experiences on the topic climate positive. My name is Johanna Grant, and I work as a climate strategist at Zero Mission. And I've been part of this climate positive journey since it first was initiated by Max Burgers in 2018. And it's been equally exciting as important. And today I will facilitate part one of this seminar. So let's have a look at the program. We have many interesting speakers with us today from several countries. The first one is Emmy Tolin, sustainability developer and head of partnerships at God El. And Emmy will give us a burning platform why transformative actions are needed. After that, this is leading up to the concept of climate positive, where Kai Török will share his insights. And Kai is the Chief Sustainability Officer at Max Burgers, not to mention one of the founders of Clipop, which has received an award from United Nations Global Climate Action Award in 2019. And next one up is Peter Wrenfeldt, owner and project manager at U&We, who has also been part of this journey from the beginning. And Peter will give us a deeper understanding of why becoming climate positive is a transformative action and how it differs from other initiatives. After that, Zero Mission's Managing Director, Claire Wigg, will explain what is currently required of a Clipop company in becoming climate positive. And Claire is also a member of a technical committee working in the ISO standard, working to develop a new international standard for climate neutrality. And Claire will also share the latest updates. For all of you who are listening, feel free to post questions in questions and answers. We will use that as our question zone, and Claire Wigg will manage the questions as best as she can. We will have the chat open in the beginning and in the end, but you can write us panelists if you have something you want to tell us. In the next part, we'll have a panel discussion moderated by Kai Török. With these guys, we have Christian Seder from Office Management and Wouter Stahl from the Dutch company Yogurt Barn, who are new members within the Clipop network. And we also have Erin Mesan from Interface, who are a front runner in climate action. If you can't get enough of this topic and of us, you are very welcome to join a mingle after this seminar. We would wish, of course, that we could see you live, but this is a way for you to meet and greet and ask questions. And this will be coordinated by Ash Farber, who many of you maybe have been in contact with, who's been arranging this seminar as well, the outreach coordinator at Clipop. So there, I'll stop there with the agenda, but before we get into the program, I would like to hear a little bit more from you. We have around 90, a bit over 90 participants registered today. So you saw in the beginning that we will use Menti, and some of you have already started. We have, if you open menti.com, and there's a code up there, 3072 5888. We would love to hear from you where you're joining from. We have Stockholm and west of Sweden, but also Bristol. Avalon Spirits, it sounds like an exotic place. Need to take action. I wonder where that is in this world. We'll wait for more of you to find Menti.
I think need to take action is global. It's everywhere.
Yeah, it's everywhere. Thanks, Sky. Oh, here we go. Many of you are from Stockholm, Copenhagen, United States, Brooklyn, Sollentuna. That's actually where I grew up. Tainan, the Netherlands, Copenhagen, Åre. That sounds nice. Spånga, the Netherlands, London. Here in Sweden, it's around, well, it's 3 o'clock and it's actually very nice outside. Kista, Paris, Amsterdam, the Netherlands. This is great. And I think we'll take the next question. Let's see if I can change the window here. So not only where are you from, we'd also like to know why you are here today. What are your interests in climate positive? And here you get 3 words, so you need to be short. It's a word cloud. What brought you here today? Network, inspiration, action, cost. How, speed, great speakers, planet. You're good at keeping yourself short in one word. Wow, here it's moving. A better future, change. I can say the word curiosity. Genuine, goal, act. Many of you wrote change, action, inspiration. A fair climate for all, future. Connections, future focus. It's nice to hear. And last question, in your opinion, what is the role of business to reach the 1.5 degree target? And here you also only get 3 words. Take the lead, inspire others. Crucial. Ambition, resources, having a clear objective. Well, I guess you have more than 3 words. That's good. Cooperation. Take the lead. Small scale, capital. Inspire. Accountability. And push the political agenda. Employee enablement. There are many, many reasons to take action. So we can agree upon that business have a crucial role in climate transition, and this leads us over to our first presentation by Emmy Tolin. Welcome, Emmy.
Hey.
Hello.
I'm trying to activate my video here, but it's stopped by host. Now I think it's started. Okay, perfect. Hello, everyone. Great to be here.
Yeah. So I'm leaving it over to you with the burning platform.
Yes. Thank you very much. So let's see. Hello, everyone. My name is Emmy Tallin, and I'm working as a sustainability developer and head of partnerships at the energy company Godel here in Sweden. And we are a social enterprise. We only sell energy from renewable sources, and we also sell only climate positive electricity contracts since 2019. And on top of this, we give all our dividends to different charity organizations based on our customers' preferences. And to date, we have our sister companies. Together, we have donated 8 million euros to charity. So I'm here today because I would like to just give you a short intro and contextualization, because the world is really changing. And how will this actually affect business? That's a huge question, but I will try to give you a short background of this challenge that we have to tackle, and we have to tackle it as a team more than ever before. The company I represent tried to make change for a better tomorrow, and at the same time, we actually live in a time of climate crisis. Today, humans, we are the dominant force on this planet, and our livestock, we account for 96% of all biomass on this planet. 68% of all vertebrates have become extinct over the past 20 years. They're gone forever in just 2 generations. Mankind pushes the planet beyond the planetary boundaries. The life-sustaining systems that we all are really depending on, they are collapsing. We poison water and land, we cut down forests, and we have put ancient ecological systems on which we depend on out of balance. We're also heating up our planet, and we play with the fire, not in the backyard, but here in our own house, in our living room. The clock is ticking now. We only have 6 years and 225 days to continue emitting greenhouse gases at the current rate. And this does not even take into account the risk of unknown tipping points that would increase warming at a pace faster than we could control. So if we are to meet the 1.5 degree goal, then we must completely stop emitting before we exceed our carbon budget. So if we should continue at the current rate, that will give us less than 7 years. And then the chance to achieve this goal is totally gone. And that's a really, really tough goal. And even if we manage that, the world will look totally different when my 6-year-old son Arvid is retiring. The sea levels have increased by 85%. Most coral reefs, they have disappeared, and most species of mammal are extinct. And right now, we're actually heading 2 or even 3 degrees of warming. So that's not a beautiful future picture. And just a couple of weeks ago, we noticed a world record where we passed 420 parts per billion of carbon dioxide. And the last time it was this high, the world was actually 3 or even 4 degrees warmer. Sea levels were 30 meters higher, and Greenland was totally free from ice. That's 4 million years ago. So we have built our economy and our welfare on a fossil fuel economy that generates greenhouse gases emissions. And they lay a thick warming blanket around the Earth. And that blanket thickens, the climate becomes warmer and warmer and warmer. And this picture shows the connection between the economy and emissions. When the economy slows down, the emissions decrease. So right now, the economy is very, very affected by the coronavirus. And maybe the pandemic have given us all a chance to stop, reflect, and think, rethink, and maybe even to change. Last year, the sad year of 2020, greenhouse gases actually fell. But how much? Do you have a clue? Write in the chat. For me, personally, I thought it would have a lot greater effect than it actually had. The coronavirus decreased emissions by 7% last year. This shows that changes in the actions of individual is not enough. We are past the point of energy efficient light bulbs and bags for life. We need even bigger, more real change, disruption, new behaviors, systems, and innovations to give society a new way forward in line with the 1.5-degree goal. So, whoa, now you might be thinking, this is not a peaceful afternoon I hope for. Can that woman, can she just stop? I feel climate anxiety when she talks about this. And for me, it's actually the same, and we are not alone. We made an opinion poll every year, and that shows that more than half of all Swedes feel strong climate anxiety. And at the same time, we also see that Swedes are taking climate action. Actually, 9 of 10 are changing their habits due to date. So this is a serious situation, but it's not too late. And it's time to act now. It's time to take climate action. Together, we must direct all of our intelligence, our power, and creativity to make change. For the economy we have created will not sustain a happy life for us if we continue the same way as before. We need a new type of economy where sustainability is the key signature in everything we do. And there are many signs that things are changing. Awareness of the climate crisis have increased. In September 2019, 20 months ago, actually 6 million of people, mostly children and youth, raised their voices in demonstrations took place in all parts of the world. Not in one country, but in all continents. And exactly 1 year after the global climate strike, David Attenborough created an Instagram account to educate the world about the threat to the planet's health and our own health. It took him less than 5 hours to gain 1 million followers. That's a new world record. And a couple of months ago, the huge company Netflix announced that it will become climate neutral in 2022. So we see many things happening. Biden brought United States back to Paris and the Paris Agreement, and the new administration have made a climate pledge with a promise to cut emissions by at least 50% by 2030. They've also created a new project to help other countries to innovate clean energy solutions. And on top of this, Biden promised to double financial aid for developing countries struggling with escalating drought, floods, heat waves, and other natural disasters, which increase in frequency and severity with the climate crisis. So awareness in action on the climate crisis is starting to become the norm in the broad political landscape. In 2020, 70% of the world's countries had set goals for climate neutrality. That figure was only 11% the year before. So the ambitions are coming. A kind of G3 for the climate is emerging, with the EU and US aiming for net zero by 2050, and China at latest 2060. So there is something going on in this political landscape and as well in the legal landscape. Children and young people are taking European states to court over the climate crisis, and they are winning. In April, the ruling of the German Supreme Court stated that the current climate legislation is unconstitutional and that it must be rewritten. This can happen just in 2022. And there are more things going on here. In the Netherlands have already made the same decision. In the Supreme Court, Ireland and France are expected to follow suit. But most of us here today are active in the business world. And we know that as long as the business is part of the problem, it will and can be a part of the solution. Fossil companies that flourished in the old fossil economy, they are being overrun. Bloomberg recently reported that the giant ExxonMobil, which was previously the world's largest limited company, is now smaller and worth less than NextEra, renewable energy company. Danish company Dong, Danish Oil and Gas, has stepped off the fossil train. They are now called Ørsted and only invest 100% in renewable energy sources. We see a change in the car industry. It's competing with electric cars, and Uber is transforming its business model to benefit electrified vehicles. Britain have banned the sale of international combustion vehicles after 2035. The Netherlands will ban these cars 2030, and Norway, this change will just come in 4 years. So the trend is also strong in the food system. As an example, we have Beyond Meat, which produces and sells plant-based meat. Their share prices rose by more than 800 after listing in the stock exchange in May 2019. They have built their first factory in China and focus on producing great plant-based food rather than driving up profits. So without a doubt, we face a huge challenge, and we all see a huge potential to make real change happen. New players are disrupting markets and helping us to overcome this challenge together. We seem to live in the middle of a gigantic shift. The climate crisis is so serious, we need to pick up the pace. We need to reduce emissions while at the same time removing carbon dioxide from the atmosphere to fight and fix the Paris Agreement. So the world is changing, and how will the climate crisis be affected? I believe it's going to be in very many ways. Some we can see and some we can't even imagine yet. So strong focus on climate action among consumers, that we will see more of. We think transformative action will be the way forward. And the companies that are working hard now, they will be very well positioned for the future. So transformative action is the way forward. Thank you.
Thanks, Emmy. Wow, so there's definitely signs that we're in a shift, but that shift is coming in the 11th hour. But with that as a starting point, I would like to welcome Kai Török as our next speaker. And Kai will give his views on why climate positive is the most sensible things to do, even though I think you all feel that it is a very sensible thing to do after hearing Emmy's presentation. Welcome, Kai. We see your presentation, but we don't see you.
Sorry, just a second. Something's happening here. Something interesting. So
looks like you're in a burger restaurant there. But I know I'm behind your shoulder on that picture. So I'm in the burger restaurant as well.
Thank you very much. So you can see this now. So I would just like to introduce this climate positive, how it relates to all of what Emmy was talking about. Why are we talking about climate positive all the time? So let's just follow a couple that are driving in a car in California the other year, when actually the village of Paradise was burning, literally. And we've seen more and more forest fires in California the last years as a result of climate changes. So let's just follow this couple and see what they say.
That sucks. People are going to lose prices.
Heavenly Father, please help us. Please help us to be safe. I'm thankful for Jeremy and his willingness to be brave.
Okay, they came out on the other side, and I'm really happy about that. And this is what we also should do when it comes to climate change. There's so many things going on right now that talks about reducing emissions. And of course, we need to reduce emissions. That's paramount. We've heard that forever. That's exactly what we need to do. But we also need to start capturing some of the carbon that's already been emitted into the atmosphere. So we should actually be able to come out of this hotter and hotter area to go in to something that becomes a little bit colder again. We can restore the climate. It's not enough to just be on our way to reducing emissions. That means slowing the temperature increase. We need to be able to take one step further. That is what climate positive is all about. Sorry. So the IPCC report came out in 2018. They had 4 scenarios for the future. The world should go climate positive when the black line crosses the x-axis, 2050 or 2060. And what we know from these scenarios is that P1 and P2, we have sharp decline in global emissions, the gray area. And in P3, P4, we have slower decline in emissions. And that means that the area below the 0 line, x-axis, will need to be much bigger when we actually capture carbon from the atmosphere. In this case, from the brown area is AFLU, agriculture, forestry, and other land use, and also BECCS, bioenergy with carbon capture storage. So it means we can just take one step further than going climate neutral. We got this award from UN for going climate positive in 2019. That's all good inspiration for all of us clip-hoppers, all of us that actually have gone into the same criteria. And just to remind you that if we're on the wrong road, it's not okay if we just slow down. We need to go into another zone, into another area, choose another route. So restoring the climate is the sensible thing to do. Misspelled here, restoring. Sorry about that, but maybe you'll remember it even more then. Restoring the climate is the only sensible thing to do. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Kai. And I'm going to let Peter get ready with your presentation. But while you're doing that, I'm just curious, Kai, Max Burgers launched climate positive burgers in 2018. And what has been the response?
Well, it's been a massive response from other companies. They want to do the same. They realize it's the next level. It's been a response from media. They're interested in these terms, how they should be presented, how should they be talked about. That's an ongoing discussion. So how should we communicate around climate positive? We know that our customers at Max love it. They think it's positive, and our co-workers absolutely love it. So from that perspective, it really has made a mark on the discussion globally, I would say, especially in Sweden, of course, where we have the most climate positive companies today, but also internationally. So everyone is kind of wondering what is the next step to take. And I think what we've been throwing in here is climate positive is transformative action. When we do that, we change, and maybe in the future we will, find new, even stronger initiative beyond to where we are today with climate positive. But right now, I think we're leading it.
Yeah. Well, that's a nice bridge over to you, Peter. The climate positive is a transformative action, because that's what you will talk about in your presentation. So I leave it to you, Peter. Thank you so much, Kai.
Thank you.
Thank you, and hi guys. Nice to be together with you. Yes, after these rather intense presentations from both the fire at Kai and the burning platform from Emily, I will try to explain something about climate positive as a transformative action. And later, after me, Claire will explain something about the criteria, so she will go deeper in that. But I'm Peter Bremfeldt, working at the consultancy. I'm a founder of You and We Sustainability Consultancy. Has been working for 26 years now. And one of our main tasks is to assist companies to become climate positive. But there's a lot of different claims out there regarding climate, and it's hard to know what they stand for. But everybody talks more or less about being neutral, reduce their harm. But we have to go beyond. That was clear from both Kai and from Emily. We have to be positive. We have to contribute to a better climate, not a less bad climate. And climate positive consists about different activities. You have to analyze and measure your footprint. And then it's very important to document it because you have to be very transparent about it. And then it's recommended to verify your carbon footprint, your calculations. You have to be sure that it's correct. This part is just recommended to be verified. And then you have to take actions to reduce your climate impact. And finally, what is left of your carbon emissions, you have to offset the whole footprint and at least 10% more than that. So measure, reduce, offset. That's the main part. But you have also to set targets. Climate positive is a concept. It's different concepts. IKEA, Max, and others are working with this. It's not yet a standard, but the Clipop organization has developed criteria for using the concept climate positive, which in its turn based on standards. And Max Burgers was the first company ever going climate positive. It was 3 years ago when all the burgers on the menu became climate positive. And today we have several other companies being climate positive using the concept. You heard God El from Emily, Kivra, Godric, etc. And the climate positive by Clipop is built on 2 standards, ISO 14021 or BAS 2060. And also regarding the target setting, science-based targets or equivalent to that. So a climate positive approach seeks both to reduce emissions and sequester more carbon than the product or the organization emits. That's the key. So this can be done through carbon sequestration in certified reforestation projects outside the company's value chain. That's one way to do it. So there is some pros and cons. The climate positive concept by Clipop is actually the most comprehensive climate concept with strict standards. It works with science-based targets and it's aiming for 1.5 degrees, and you have to have reduction plans. That's a big pro. And it's used by several other corporates. And are we discussing Clipop? We have Max Burgers. IKEA and H&M are not working with the Clipop concept. They want to be climate positive in the future. And what's very good with climate positive, it has a very positive connotation. People want to be positive, not neutral. And that's rather important factor actually. And with climate positive, you may also join the network Clipop with other companies that's actually very active and working with communicating around climate positive and arranging seminars, etc. Climate positive may be used both on products and organizations, depending on standard framework which you choose. And there are several different initiatives going on to include climate positive as a standard. Claire will talk more about that. As for others claims, climate neutral, net zero, etc., different definitions by different organizations. What is climate positive and what is not? This is some challenges in the communication, and this is a generic problem in this communication world around environment as a whole. And yet the concept is not a standard, but it's based on standards. And then you can audit, you can verify, and that's very important. Climate positive works with targets based on science, and they are set to meet the goals in the Paris Agreement that says limiting global warming to well below 2 degrees above pre-industrial levels and pursuing efforts to limit warming to 1.5 degrees. And with climate positive, you're setting the science-based targets. You define a path to reduce your carbon footprint in line with the Paris Agreement 1.5 degrees goal. And it's future-proof growth. It saves money, provides resilience, satisfies investors, challenges innovation, and strengthen your competitiveness. And it also satisfies increasingly conscious consumers. And it's possible to make a statement on the market towards your competitors. We can compare this with several different claims, net zero, climate neutral, etc. But we will talk about net zero here. And the definition of net zero by the organization Science Based Target Initiative. And they say they refer to IPCC. Net zero emissions are achieved when anthropogenic emissions of greenhouse gases to the atmosphere are balanced by anthropogenic removals over a specified period. It's targeted to corporate actors, but offsetting emissions should be done by 2050 at the latest. So that's very far away. And they are still working with guidance and definitions of the setup. There are lots of pros and cons, but some of them are prove that they are aligned with the Paris Agreement and IPCC. They will have a clear definition and guidance on target setting, offsetting, etc. But at latest year 2050, it will be net zero emissions. And of course, it's aligned with science-based target because it's the same organization working with it. And it will also provide guidance how the mitigation strategy can be communicated. Here you also have the problem, different definitions of net zero by different organizations. Makes it harder to communicate. Offsetting cannot be used, that's net zero emissions earlier than 2050. It's rather far away. Technology for large-scale neutralizations, etc., that is still under investigation. And it's hard to work with the terms climate or carbon. So it has to be communicated around the net zero emission target. That was the main summary of this. If you compare them, the definition is not set in the net zero by Science Based Target Initiative. For climate positive, the concept of Clipop, they say reduce emissions throughout the value chain in line with 1.5 degrees target and remove more than the value chain emits. Both
Get there. I'm calling in here. We're running a little bit out of schedule, so we have to speed up a bit, and we will share the presentation afterwards as well. But
yeah,
one or two more minutes in them.
Then I will conclude with my last picture. You will have this after the webinar. So we don't have time to wait until 2050. We have to become climate positive today. And a climate positive commitment is transformative because all emissions in the entire value chain are calculated. It's based on the detailed standard. Everybody calculates in the same way. It's transparent. Others can evaluate and compare the carbon footprint, and that's very important. The reductions are taking to our common goal, and you take responsibility here and now for your footprint and 10% more. So neutral, net zero is not enough. We must go beyond, and we have to become climate positive. Thanks.
Thanks. There are interesting to see your questions there also on the Q&A. And I know Marcel asked one question that I would also like to pose to you, Peter. And that question is, can a company continue to increase emissions but still be climate positive? And will this like drive consumptions? But I will let you, I can see that Claire and Kai has already answered Marcel's question, but feel free, Peter, to add on that thread in the question and answers.
Okay.
And we will move forward in the program. And I would like to welcome Claire Wigg at Surmission, my colleague, who is managing right now the criteria for climate positive. So here, if you are interested in becoming climate positive, Claire will give you a brief of what's required. And as I mentioned earlier, Claire is also part of a technical committee within the ISO standard and can give some updates when it comes to putting together a standard for climate neutral. Are you with us, Claire?
I am. Thank
Good.
you.
Welcome.
I'm hoping that everybody can now see this screen.
Yep, the floor is yours.
Thank you and good afternoon, everyone. So as Johanna said, my name is Claire Wigg and I'm the CEO of the Swedish company Zero Emission. And I'm involved in running the Clipop network, specifically working with criteria. So it's a pleasure to present the criteria to you, but since we believe these criteria are the most ambitious criteria for companies' climate action that you can find anywhere today. So the criteria are about both action today and ambitious goals for the future, not one or the other, but both. And in that sense, they represent transformative action. And as well as presenting the criteria, I'll put them in the context of some of the other carbon neutrality standards that you might have come across, building on what Peter has been saying. So, to go through the criteria, there are 7 main ones. The first one is that the emissions from the whole value chain or all scopes, if it's an organization, must be measured, and there are no excuses. A few years ago, it might have been true to say that some emissions were difficult to measure or that data wasn't available, but really, in my opinion, this is not really the case anymore. It's always possible now to do at least an approximation. So Clipop requires emissions from the whole value chain scopes to be measured. And then, as Peter was saying, calculations must be made using internationally recognized standards. And here we're thinking of ISO standards like ISO 1464 or 1467, or the Greenhouse Gas Protocol standards, or others that are of suitable standing. And the goals need to be long-term and is set in line with the Paris Agreement. So that's most likely following the Science-Based Targets guidance or the carbon law. Or there may be other approaches that are applicable, for instance, the One Planet Plate framework that's used by Max Burgers. And then criteria D is that at least 110% of the organization's or products footprint must be offset. And those offsets must be third-party certified, verified, and retired. And that implies that they must be generated under an international carbon offset program, because that's the kind of certainty you can have that, for instance, additionality has been taken into account. And then the criteria F, carbon footprints, goals, information about offsetting must be made publicly available. And G, all communication must be correct, transparent, and specific. And those last 2, of course, are intended to ensure that claims cannot be criticized by advertising standards authorities, consumer organizations, or marketing ombudsmen. So these are the 7 main criteria for Clipop today. If any of your companies want to sign up, that's what you need to do. These are, of course, being kept under review and may well be added to or changed as the Clipop network develops and grows and we learn more of what's needed. In addition, we have a couple of other things. So these are more declarations that companies need to make. Companies joining Clipop must undertake not to lobby against climate-friendly policies or to lobby for the continued use of fossil fuels. and companies shall do an assessment of whether becoming climate positive may potentially contribute negatively towards any of the Sustainable Development Goals. So if I maybe put those into context a little, in terms of comparing with other carbon neutrality standards, I'm going to just show you some of the most relevant standards that we're aware of internationally. It's ISO 14021, and that includes, as a standard for environmental claims, and it includes a definition of carbon neutrality. And there's the PAS 2060 that Peter also mentioned, which has been developed by the British Standards Institute with international partners. And the UN has a Climate Neutral Now initiative. And then there are various protocols, this one called the Carbon Neutral Protocol, that's been developed by a company called the Natural Capital Partners in the UK, and there are various other ones of those as well. And there are some other standards for carbon neutrality, which I haven't included here, but which you might come across. For instance, there's an extremely weak standard you might have seen in the news recently, which has been developed by Intertech. And there are some country-specific standards, for instance, in Costa Rica and Australia. And then the things that are in development that it's good to know about are the Science-Based Targets Net Zero initiative, again, which Peter talked about, which is in today, it's a framework, but the detailed guidance is to follow. So that's being written now. We'll wait with interest to see what that will say. And then there's the new ISO 14068 standard, and that's the one that I've been involved in working on, and that's due to be ready in 2023. So that's some of those standards, but what I would say is that Clipop has the only set of criteria for climate positive. There are these other standards for carbon neutrality, and there are some definitions out there of what climate positive might be. But today, Clipop has the only set of criteria for organizations and products to be climate positive. So when you're looking out at these various standards out there and comparing them to Clipop, I'm just going to go through some of the key questions that you might want to think about and look at. And then I'll say a few words about what's going on in the ISO 14068 carbon neutral standard and about Clipop. So the first one is the scope of the footprint required. And in the ISO standard, it's likely that that will be defined as all scopes up and down the value chain. And hopefully it will be without room for interpretation, one might say wriggle room. But there is the possibility that this ISO 14068 will allow what we call partial footprints. That means that the standard could be used to declare a factory which is within a company, neutral, for instance. We'll see. Whereas Clipop requires all emissions, and they need to be for the whole organization or the whole product. No dividing up a company or dividing up a product within Clipop. And then the ambition level, currently the current working draft of ISO 14068 says that goals for reductions should be science-based or based on lowest emitting technologies within the sector. And that's fairly similar, really, I would say, to Clipop. We're looking for goals in line with the Paris Agreement defined by, say, science-based targets. And the next one is also quite similar. So you want to know about the timing for reductions and carbon offsetting. So in the ISO 14068 standard, this will be from today. And that's the same in Clipop. But note that in science-based targets, net zero, that's not from today. The reductions are from today, but offsetting can come much later in the science-based targets net zero concept. And then last two, scope of offsetting is 100%, will be defined in the ISO 14068. But note that that refers back, of course, to the scope of the footprint. So if you have a rather reduced or less ambitious scope of the footprint, then of course the scope of the offsetting will be less. But in Clipop, it's full footprints and at least 110% offsetting. And then lastly, about transparency. So the ISO 14068 standard will require a lot of documentation, but it won't necessarily have to be made public. In Clipop, we say that plans, reductions, goals and offsetting, those things should all be not just documented, but also made public so that they can be judged and looked at, evaluated by others. So with that, I conclude. Do please contact me via Clipop or by the email here on the screen if you have any questions that are outstanding at the end of the seminar. Otherwise,
thank you, Claire.
Back to you, Johanna.
Well, there's so many things going on in this area and standards and initiatives, but this one that you talked about, the ISO 14068, it will take a while. What was it? In 2 years it will be done?
Yeah, 2023 is the date on there. Yeah.
So do you think it will be?
We have come along, but we have come quite a long way actually. So maybe it'll be ready early.
Yeah. And do you think it will be ambitious enough?
It will be ambitious enough in some areas, but in the nature of international compromises, it may not be everything we wanted to live up to, but we're working on it.
Thank you, Claire. And I would like to invite Kai back. Hearing Peter and Claire talking about all the different initiatives, I just would like to hear your view. What's the future of Clipop in relation to these other initiatives?
Well, one of the really important things we need to do is to, add more members to Clipop to increase the momentum, and just saying this could be the next level of commitment to the climate. We need really large transformative action, and so reducing emissions for the whole value chain in line with the 1.5 degree target, and at the same time removing more than we emit. Is at that level, and we've already seen it in Sweden, where actually climate neutral is becoming more popular, partly because there's this extra level of climate positive. So I think it is there to inspire everyone, hopefully.
Yeah, and I would like to. I'm gonna leave over the moderator stick to you, Kai, but before I do that, I just want to do a little poll with you who are listening. Should we wait for a standard before becoming climate positive? Yes, no, or I don't know. So you can give your answers there. Yeah, the majority thinks no, and some yes, I don't know. Great. I initiated this seminar by saying there were 11 members in the Clipop network, and now it's time to hear from our very newest member, Office Management, who will be our 12th member. So I will leave Kai for you to interview Christian. How does it feel?
So first of all, Christian, congratulations for going climate positive. How do you feel about that?
First of all, I have a big smile on my face. So I think that says it all. It feels great. It's a proof of concept, and I believe the things that you're doing also is one of the skepticism that has to be taken out there. It has to be clear for the consumer. It has to be clear for the businesses where to go to find the correct verification for what is actually a climate smart option.
Yeah.
So that's my take.
Yeah. Why did you go climate positive in the first place?
First of all, I'm turning over 40, so it's part of the getting older. But if we put the joke aside, I have 2 kids. I had in 2018, 2019, I came to a point. I've been in the business for 10 years. I came to a point when I said to myself, okay, well, what am I actually going to do here within the company? And alongside with all the influences that were on the market, you had, first of all, the climate has always been on everyone's mind, but not so close to you. It feels like a distance for many people. And influenced also by, of course, you have kids. What do I leave behind? And not to undermine in any circumstances or any way Greta Thunberg. Nobody thought that she was going to change the world. And I see this new movement that is changing rapidly. So, and I actually got a question from my kid. He asked me, what do you do actually for work, Dad? And I asked him, in a draft way, I provide services for companies to make them go better. and I didn't feel that went well. It was nagging me, and at one point it just felt come to the conclusion I have to do something for the climate. And I started out researching, being a bit nerdy in that sense, and found that to make a change, I need to use my ability in the company and the resources, and we can make a change with the company, not wait for the government.
Yeah, thank you. And can you just tell us a little bit about office management? Not everyone knows about that company. Just
Okay.
a elevator pitch.
Yeah, actually, we're providing services to companies within video conferencing systems. We have IT systems, and we have a facility management. We have document and print solutions, which is more or less online right now. And then we have the thing that I'm responsible for, and that's the telecom systems for companies. So I'm actually a service provider that help companies. We both in Norway, Sweden, and Finland. We're based today, and have customers all over the world, more or less.
Yeah. And how do you think that climate positive might relate to your business outcome, to profits, to financial success, growth, whatever you prefer?
I will start out by saying I'm here to retrieve a profit in the company, and with the profit I suppose to make great investments, and that's what I'm gaining out of it right now. We have loyalty from customers. They stick to us. They feel that we're doing something meaningful. They feel proud, and nevertheless, we have the employee side. That is, we made this great place to work certification, where you do reports from the employees, which shows that at this we got climate positive, by the way, in February, and we had this result taken out 3 weeks ago. We see when it comes to being proud at going to work, we have reached a significant difference within the company, which for me is a drive force. So profit-wise, customers, employees, and also for the supply chain, it's changing everything, everything. And we're profitable and competitive at the same time.
Wonderful. Thank you very much, Christian. Please stay, and I would like to invite our next panelist. It's Wouter from Yogurt Barn. I mean, you were also becoming climate positive just recently. When did you go climate positive, Wouter?
Yeah, we started it officially only a couple of weeks ago, but as Yogurt Barn, we started thinking this way on the 50th Earth Day, so 22nd of April last year, because we were in the business for 10 years, and we've always done things the right way. We wanted to use business as a force of good. But yeah, we simply, like Christian just said, we didn't really know what it was. So greenhouse gases, CO2, what does it mean for me as a person, as a company, and how can we actually do good for our children and make it's an intrinsic motivation. Otherwise you can't do it. I'm the owner of the company, so you have a responsibility for both employees, guests, but also all other stakeholders involved. And you want to inspire them to take action for what you feel is good. And for me, this was the only way to go, reading all about what it actually means and where we stand as humanity on Earth. So we decided that going climate neutral wasn't enough. We have to change things around. And by going drastic all the way, it took us like 3-4 months to decide and prepare everything for the 22nd of April. And by then, in those couple of months, we didn't know everything. Like all the reduction measures that we could take as a restaurant business, we didn't know. But we just felt we have to go for it because it feels good. We take the responsibility. And now, a year after, we have found out so many things to make an impact throughout the value chain on reductions, going plant-based on certain products, going circular in most of the locations. If a company takes a sustainability point of view on only one measure by reducing plastics or going plant-based is already good as such, but going all the way climate positive makes you really look at your company and your operations in a completely different point of view, allowing us to think differently than competition and inspire so many other people to take action themselves as well. So for us, it's a key DNA driver.
Thank you very much, Wouter. And can you just tell us a little bit about what Yogurt Barn does?
Yeah, we're a Dutch company. We eat the most yogurt in the world per capita. So that was basically the business idea. We came across frozen yogurt in Spain, and we thought, hey, we don't have that in the Netherlands, but it's too cold in the Netherlands, so let's take it broader than just frozen yogurt. So we have all kinds of yogurt that we offer in a lunchroom setting, restaurant setting, all day, every day. And we now have the goal to go completely vegan by end of 23.
Wow.
Going internationally this year still. We run 13 restaurants and going to retail with our own brand after summer. So it's great momentum at the moment.
Wonderful. So good to hear. And congratulations for going climate positive as well. I know it's not always easy to get all the papers and documentation and stuff in order. Everyone that's gone climate positive know about this. I would like to invite the next panelist. It's Erin Meason from Interface. Your Vice President and Sustainability Officer. Welcome.
Hi, Kai. Hi, everyone. It's really nice to be here.
Yeah, you're sitting in Atlanta?
Yep, I'm in the States, and I'm loving this conversation, particularly around language, right? Because we've taken a slightly different approach with carbon negative, and I think it's okay, right? I mean, I think standards are still emerging. I think we're still using different phrases, but really excited to see what's happening with Clipop, and really congratulations to all of you for doing what you've done.
Yeah, I would like to first just say that to me personally, Interface is a pioneer in sustainability in general and in climate as well. So I know you've been working a lot with this over the time, but can you just introduce us to the company Interface first, Erin?
Sure. Interface is a global billion-dollar flooring manufacturer. And, you know, we started out making carpet tiles. We now offer resilient flooring and rubber. And we've always been very focused on how to make those products in a sustainable way. I mean, in 2003, we started offering customers the option to buy products climate neutral because we knew then we needed to take action. And we spent the better part of 2 decades engaging our supply chain to reduce all of those raw materials to the place where we could actually make every product carbon neutral as a standard attribute. And we announced that in 2018.
Yeah. So, you can make it in 2018, or how many of your products are carbon neutral at this time?
So at this time, every single product that we make across every single product line is actually third-party verified carbon neutral. But
that's fantastic.
It's a good start, right? And it's actually something that everyone should ask of all their suppliers as businesses, right? Carbon neutral, I think, should be the threshold, but we know we have to go further. So we have ambitions as a company to be a carbon negative enterprise across all scopes of the company by the year 2040. And that really means for a product maker, as many on the call know, we have to make carbon negative products. Excuse me. And I'm super proud that last year was the year that we were first able to launch a line of carbon negative carpet products that from cradle to gate are completely negative due to the use of new materials that actually store carbon.
So you're doing this without offsets or small offsets?
We're doing the carbon negative from cradle to gate without offsets. That's just raw material innovation. But then we will use some offsetting to balance that full life cycle of the product. So once it leaves the company, the customer use and end of life, we'll do some offsetting. And I think it's a good illustration. People always ask me, why should we care about a carbon negative carpet? Or, I use your example at Max Burgers all the time. Why should we care about a climate positive burger? And I think what we say is because it shows the potential for every company to do this. I mean, the people on the call, you, the other companies, show that we know they have to have this ambition as a company. We know we must go for positive. And we're all examples that you can actually do it. So if we can do it in a carpet and a burger, the rest of businesses are going to be able to do this.
Yeah, and we can now do it in a yogurt bar in the Netherlands, office management, music festival in Sweden, car sharing service in New Zealand. We're doing it, so we're showing it is possible. And the biggest thing we can do is inspire others to do more. So I totally agree. And thank you very much. And yeah, I think you and me, Erin, we're thinking about the term carbon negative and climate positive in the same way. And what we've seen in Google searches is that carbon negative is a bigger term in US and climate positive is a bigger term in Europe. And that's just how it is. And therefore it's going to be very interesting to see how all the standards develop and where we will end up in that. But I would like to go into a general question here, because people are always wondering, what are you doing to reduce your emissions? And I mean, at Max, we found out that beef is our main climate culprit. It's still 50% of the full value chain's climate impact. So that's where we try to change with more plant-based burgers. And and Christian and Wouter, please jump in as well. Who would like to start? What are you doing to reduce your emissions in a systematic way? Maybe you can start anyway, Erin.
Sure. So we know at Interface that the biggest carbon emissions associated with making the flooring products are the raw materials. And those are, created by our supply chain. So we've been working for years with our supply chain to reduce the environmental impact of the raw materials before we get them. And that is things like operational efficiency, getting them to use renewable energy in their operations, getting them to incorporate more recycled and more biomaterials. And mirroring that strategy, that's what we're doing in Interface. So to reduce our own footprint and the overall footprint of the products, we've engaged in things to make products more efficient, to waste less. We're using renewable energy in all of our factories around the world. 75% of all of our global energy comes from renewable sources. But we're also innovating to make our manufacturing processes much lower footprint, and we're using more biomaterials and more recycled materials. So the carbon negative products that we just launched are a combination of operational efficiency, renewable energy, new biomaterials that store carbon, and more recycled materials. And that's how we've been doing it.
Wonderful. Thank you very much. Christian, what are you doing to reduce emissions?
Pushing everything, I would say. When you start setting off towards the goals, you start thinking about how to be more effective. I would say that you start to be effective in the way you have your workforce, the way you deliver stuff, and it all comes down to profit in the end. But what we actually do, which is really concrete now, which will have our aim, we are in telecom, we deliver telephones, so to say, and a lot of quite some hardware, which is necessary for being mobile today. So what we actually are doing, we're moving into circular business models, which means that we are having a system for the customers that we do not actually allow them to buy anything anymore. We let them have a renting system for the cell phones where we can refurbish. We can set it off for the same company or different company as in second-hand spirit, so to say. But we need as a provider to help the customer to, in that sense, think, but also provide with great services around it. So circular model for hardware, because it's a necessity for us to keeping our business going. But we can help the customer be smarter together with our provider, our suppliers. 100% renewable energy in our business, and electrifying our car fleet. So there are some hardcore objects that we're looking at, but for the business wise, we're looking into the whole business model nowadays to make it more efficient.
Yeah, and that's the thing with reducing emissions in line with the 1.5 degree target. It's maybe you're fixing that the first 1 or 2 years without looking at the business model, but then it starts to get harder. And then you have to go into the core business and what is your offer in the future? Max is a family-owned company. We want to be family-owned for at least 4 more generations. So for us, that's also a very clearly an owner's perspective on Max.
I have one more thing I would like to add, just which I think is important as well. We're looking into the whole chain with our offer. So we incorporate strategic partner membership with suppliers, so we can make an impact on both supplier side and also for the customer side. So otherwise we don't get the full effect. So that's what we're working extremely tight with the partners, strategic partners on. So we have Tele2, which is an operator, and we also work with Puzzle, which is a contact center solution. So we make sure that everything is climate positive that we deliver, or give a recommendation for the best option for the customers.
Yeah, this is what happens when you're looking at the full value chain. You realize that you have to sensitize a lot of stakeholders in different ways. Thank you very much. Wouter, what are you doing to reduce emissions? You mentioned a little bit about that earlier. You're planning to go vegan, but I'm thinking, how will a vegan yogurt taste? What will it taste like?
Well, there are lots of Scandinavian companies that are famous for it, like Oatly that we work together with, but also Alpro from Belgium, and there are many other companies as well. We're developing it ourselves as well. But I think a good one to add on to Christian is that it's about profit, but then in the broadest way possible. We've just launched, maybe it's weird in the Netherlands, but there's always, when you order a cappuccino or a latte, you have to add like 50 cents to your Oatly milk, your oat milk or your soy or Coke or almond. We are the first ones to reduce that surplus of 50 cents. Because we think it's ridiculous. And yes, it'll cost us gross margin, but I think it gives us so much feel good from ourselves because we do good, but also for the customer because they think finally we simply have a level playing field. And also, like you all have also done at Max, we want to create awareness. So we added CO2 labels to the menu. So you can not only choose what flavor, size, cost, but also which is greener. Just in a very simple way to trigger people to take something else and try something else. And also WWF has approached us to work with them to promote plant-based diets. But over the last year, we've reduced everything in scope 1 and 2. And then the main focus is on scope 3, of course. When we started, some 85% of emissions was in scope 3. And people tend to forget scope 3 while most of it is there. We changed on disposables, for example, from PET plastics to recycled PET, reducing 80%. And then you have the discussion, of course, paper versus plastic. There are so many ways to reduce. Also, for example, we've just changed our cookies that we give away for coffee, for example. It's 400,000 cookies a year that we give away that are not normally based with the right amount of or the right type of eggs. That's not 3-star good life eggs or organic eggs. Free range. Same with the butter that is included in those cookies. There is no way you can influence that, or you have to make it yourself. But we've changed to a very good vegan option. I mean, that's indirect throughout the value chain, gives such an impact. While it doesn't cost more, and actually it's cheaper than what we had. But it takes a lot of effort. It takes a lot of time. and focus on looking at all those different parameters throughout your company. And each and every one of them you can influence for good, and not only for profits, but for impact. And sometimes it does cost more. Like, for example, the plant-based milk in the coffee, that does cost more because I'm not making the margin that I should do. But that's a clear decision by going climate positive or taking sustainability as a whole, as a company DNA perspective. You have to take those decisions and lead the way. Hey, and it gives lots of free publicity. Let's be clear on that. Everybody knows us in the Netherlands simply because we are B Corp, we are Clipop, we take things seriously, and we want to inspire others.
Great. And also thanks all three of you talking about how to reduce your emissions in such a fluent way. You really, it feels like you're really on top on that subject. And just to clarify for everyone, we're talking about scope 1, 2, and 3 here. Most companies are just looking at scope 1 and 2, forgetting about 3. And for Max, scope 3 is 99.1%. So forgetting that is forgetting kind of everything. Do you know how much scope 3 is for your businesses? Do you remember that right now? Erin, how much is it?
It's 97.5%.
Yeah.
So
okay.
Any business who says like we're super sustainable, we're making these really great products that are carbon neutral, and we're only focusing on our factories and our offices, are missing a huge piece.
Yeah.
94% is ours.
Yeah, 94%. And Wouter?
100 at the moment.
100. So there's a Swedish company, well known. I'm not going to say their name, but they're saying they've reduced their emissions with 46%. It's a global brand actually, and what they mean is 46% of 0.4%, because scope 1 and 2 is 0.4% of the total value chain. So that's also a part of being transformative, talking about climate positive. But I would like to ask, actually, probably maybe the last question here to Erin. I mean, you're not going climate positive right now with that term. You're going with carbon negative, and we're kind of happy with that, saying it's we're out for the same thing. But what do you think would take Interface to take the step of joining a network like Clipop? What would be the barriers?
I think it's a good question. I mean, right now the barriers are, we've made clear our aspiration, which is to be carbon negative. And the reason we've chosen that language is because we're trying to be sensitive to our customer network and the language that our customers, mainly in the commercial built environment space, speak, which is carbon and carbon negative. And so, there's two reasons why I think we haven't joined as much. The first is we want to see the standards themselves continue to develop to a level where we're seeing more integration about what's happening with different pieces globally. Like, it's still quite early, number one. Number two, we're turning $1 billion ship here. And, it's some days I wish it was a really small business that I worked for, but it's a really large $1 billion business that has a really diverse supply chain. And we want to be confident that we have enough of a strategy to take the full product line carbon negative, for example, all of the products we make before we sign up to a certification process. So for example, I noted that we launched carbon negative products this year. The intention for our company one day is that every single product will be carbon negative as a standard attribute across every line: rubber, LVT, carpet. Right now, that's just true for a small percentage of the carpet products. And so I think really for us, Kai, it's about wanting to see how the ISO standard develops. It's about wanting to see some of this language get sorted out in the market. And it's about us wanting to make enough level of progress that we feel proud about making a commitment. So I think we're you know, still in early days, but I will tell you, Clipop and the Australian standard are ones that we're really keeping our eyes on for the next year or two to see when it might make sense to engage. But I would encourage companies really not to do what we're doing, but to make a commitment to join, to build a community, because I think what this call has really shown me and others is when you get 5 companies together who are working on this commitment, it builds a community where you can accelerate your knowledge. You can take advantage of the PR benefit. It can make you go further faster. And I think there's real value in that for the people listening to the call. So I would encourage them to, whether it's Clipop, whether it's something in the States, make that commitment, science-based target, start getting into that community.
Yeah, and I mean, we started off a little bit around kind of the negative stuff happening around climate change, but I've seen all of you want to be there to lead a positive change where we need to go. I think that's very hopeful. Christian, you wanted to jump in?
Yes, I just want to have a reach out as well, because I'm not a sustainable manager in any sense. I'm just a normal, in that sense, and a guy who just want to make a change, and I made it my way together with the company. So if I want to make a reach out here, if somebody wants to know how I made it, reach out for me. I would love to come and present to your board or committee or whatever it is, to make it less complicated than you think it is. I want to, okay, it's documentation in one sense, but that also make control of your company. So it's just benefit. But I explained a lot of times that it's not that complicated. I don't want to be alone. It's not a gated community. We need more people or more company to involve in this. So I'm reaching my hand out for that. So just contact me and I'll help you out in what I can do and what I can provide with the communication wise.
Wonderful. Thank you very much. I think you were more normal last year, not this year. Now you're enhanced. Thank you very much, everyone in the panel. Great conversation, great insights. And let's go back to Johanna now. Thank you very much.
Thank you all for this inspiring panel discussion. And that's, I think you concluded it well. Who wants to just reduce their emissions with 40% in scope 1 and scope 2 when you have this big elephant, and that's what makes it transformative. And for you who have listened, I have one more thing for you. We will open up the chat, and I would like you to write just one thing that you are taking from this webinar. And also, if you would like to join the after mingle, you are welcome. We will also share the Zoom link. It's another link that you have to register for. You can see it also here and in the chat. If you don't have time to participate, but you want to keep the discussion going, we have a quite active LinkedIn page thanks to Ash. So feel free to write to us there, or you can also contact us on that info@clipop.org email. And as I think maybe you noticed that all of us have been participating today are members of the Clipop network. We're a small but growing network, and it feels almost like a family when you join this. And we would like to have you on board. And I hope you're inspired to join us. So with that said, have a nice evening here in Sweden, and thank you for joining us.